A few weeks ago, we visited Glendora, California's Rubel Castle, and Scott Rubel himself led us on a tour through the 25-year history of its construction. But where did the Rubel family live while the castle was being built?
Following the tour, Scott was nice enough to take us through another incredible structure on the property, known as the Tin Palace.
So we're going over here to the packing house?
This is the original 120-foot long building that Mr. Bourne built for the orange packing industry.
So they would pack oranges in here?
Yes.
Okay.
This is 120-foot long room.
Oh my gosh. Oh, wait till you see this.
So this is the Tin Palace where my uncle first set up his house to live in 1959 when he moved in. His mother joined him about a year later, and about a year after that, my great-grandfather joined. So in the early 60s, we were a four-generation family in here with my uncle and me and my...
And you all lived in here? This was your living space?
Yeah, this is the only place to live back in those days. There's a large underground room which became the wine cellar when Michael lived here.
It's an elevator.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this was big enough to stick orange crates on. But we used to ride on that.
Of course.
It was fun. It was so much fun that President Eisenhower wanted to ride on it. He came in 1963. My grandmother had a really good friend who had worked for Eisenhower in the 40s. She said, "You have to come meet my friend Dorothy," my grandmother. And Eisenhower was so enthusiastic about this place. He wanted to ride on the elevator. He wanted to see the wine cellar. And Michael said, "No, you better not." And he insisted. He was quite enthusiastic, and he stood on it, and Michael pushed the down button, and then the fuse blew, and Eisenhower got stuck on our elevator with his head sticking out of the floor. And his security guard was getting nervous, and Michael ran to the electric room and replaced the, screwed in a new fuse and got him back up. So that was our little adventure with President Eisenhower.
Amazing. I can't think of anybody else that would have a story like that.
I know.
Unbelievable.
All the walk-in refrigerators were our bedrooms. This is the first of 4 refrigerators.
So we're walking into a refrigerator.
Yeah.
Oh, he's going to let us through the rope.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So originally this was a bedroom?
Well, yeah.
I mean, after it was a refrigerator.
Yeah, it was a bedroom for a while, but then Michael started sticking all his artifacts in here. He called this the artifact room. This is where he put everything he didn't know what to do with. Wow. Some of this stuff is from the old mining camps in Azusa. Azusa had a big gold rush in the 1890s, so there are a lot of tunnels up there. And Michael spent a lot of time in those tunnels.
So we got another refrigerator bedroom here?
Yeah, this is still an actual bedroom.
Okay, yeah.
Now, and that's a mint condition Red Ryder BB gun.
Like from A Christmas Story?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the man on the horse up in that corner in that picture is Fred Harmon. He was the author of Red Ryder. And you see it, and it was autographed. All that writing is to my grandparents. They were friends. My great-grandfather came from Colorado. Okay. And so and Fred Harmon was in Colorado, so they were all friends.
So it looks like we're walking into a living room, or living space here?
Yeah, this is the living part of the packing house.
Okay.
And
you got a lot of old radios here?
Yes, this is part of the ham radio system that Michael used to look for his clock and bells. And some of this is old enough to be from my grandfather. His father, he was a radio man on a mine-laying ship in World War I.
Okay.
And so knew he could do all this shortwave stuff, and Michael learned it from him at a very early age.
All right.
You can see how these refrigerators were laid out. Opposite each refrigerator door, on the other side of the room, there's a door to the outside, so they could back trucks up to unload all the orange crates. Oh. So they would just roll across the room and, from a truck to a refrigerator.
Right, you can't even tell when we first came in the room that there were even doors.
Yes.
They look very hidden, they're concealed, they kind of blend in with the wall.
They're made out of the same wood as the wall, yeah. Except for the refrigerators are insulated with solid cork. See the thickness of these doors? That's all cork inside. Behind the paneling. So
Okay, this room looks really awesome.
this was Michael's bedroom. This is the first room that he came to live in. So this was the first furnished room.
He gave himself the biggest room.
Yes, of course he did. So this is where he would always sit and entertain. When we were building the castle in the summer months, you know, by 3 or 4 in the afternoon, it would get too hot to work. So we'd all come in here, and the refrigeration still worked. So
It made it nice and cool,
yeah,
cool
so
off a little
this could
bit.
be 50 degrees inside here, which felt really good.
I was going to ask, do you have any trouble now kind of keeping it warm or cool, or everything just now so electrical?
Yeah, the refrigeration's not functioning anymore. So yeah, and it doesn't matter too much. They kind of stay, as long as the doors are closed, they kind of stay an even temperature.
Right.
Nobody occupies these rooms anymore.
So is this kind of how he left it then? Everything that's in here?
Yeah, this looks pretty much like he left. A lot of the stuff sitting on the safe, like the sabers and bayonets, those are things that came from Pancho Villa's army. And those were all given to Michael by a man named Odysseys, who worked for Pancho Villa. And he lived behind my grandmother's house, so I grew up with him too. Odo was very much a man of adventure who threw himself out into the world. You know, he came from France. He worked at the embassy in Mexico City, the French embassy, and ended up being employed by Pancho Villa.
So everything is authentic in this room. It's a museum. It's its own museum. Were those Michael's pipes?
Yeah, he would sit in this chair and smoke his pipes, and he would serve wine from here.
What a way to live. Build a castle, have some wine, smoke your pipe.
That's right.
Did he have any secrets in this room? Did he have any trap doors or secret compartments that you're not telling us about? I feel like he might have.
Not in the room. We did have some in the castle area.
Ooh.
That we built in.
There's a train set on a car. That's fun.
Yeah, this was Michael's secondary train set. When he didn't want to climb the stairs to that other train set anymore, he set this one up.
Come on down here. Yeah. Well, that adds character to the room, right? Oh, this is another bedroom.
Yes, this is the 4th bedroom, 4th refrigerator.
Ooh.
This was where, for a while, my grandmother lived here, and my great-grandfather lived in here for a while.
Another room that has its own smell.
Yeah.
I love that.
This room became a lot of things. When my grandmother lived here, you know, she started out she was in show business. She was in Broadway and in Vaudeville. And she ended up with this giant costume collection. This room was full of probably thousands of costumes, you know.
So she stored them all.
Yeah, of dresses and all kinds of stuff, purses and hats. And she had all this stuff from her flapper days in the 1920s. And she had really old stuff too, like some of her dresses were from the 1700s. And,
wow.
And one of them was even worn as a costume in Gone with the Wind. And
oh, that's special. I love that movie.
so here's some bass. This was my grandfather's piano. This was my grandfather Hines on the radio, CBS. Oh. He had his own show, but he also wrote all the songs for Joe Penner. And Joe Penner was a very famous radio comedian in the 30s, and late 20s, early 30s. And my grandfather wrote all his songs and a lot of his gags. And this is one of his action figures. This is Joe Penner's Goo Goo the Duck.
Oh, there he is.
And it says, "Want to buy a duck" on the banner there, which is a line my grandfather wrote too. It's one of those goofy things, you know, where people expect the comedian to say a certain thing every time. So right. Joe Penner would come out on stage with a duck under his arm and say, "Want to buy a duck?" And everybody would laugh. And this is my grandmother at the Winter Garden in one of her shows. This was a show she was doing with Jack Benny.
So those are the kind of costumes that she would have.
Yeah, she made her own costumes too. This is her and her sister. Sorry about the lighting, but they were a team too. They were the Dual Sisters, and they danced all over the country for the Greenwich Village Follies. And then this is 1934. That's Michael's parents, if you want to see who's responsible for raising a castle builder. That's the original restroom. And then there's a door to the north of that that used to go into the kitchen I told you about that got ruined in the floods.
I love this bathtub.
We lost the kitchen, and then after the floods, they widened Palm Drive. So we actually lost about 20 feet of property when they widened the street.
Oh no.
But one of the deals we got in trade when they widened the street was Michael got the city to build this block wall around the outside. So the city paid for the whole block wall.
So this is kind of like the end of the, what do we call it?
Yeah, this is the north end of the packing house.
The packing
Yeah,
house.
the Tin Palace.
It is definitely a palace.
Somebody tried to call it the Creosote Auditorium.
I like Tin Palace better.